Hello everyone, welcome to Gamji Educational and Mentorship Forum Personal Statement Guide. I am Dr. Muhammad Shutiami and I will be speaking on a very short video to provide you with the basic skills needed to write a sound personal statement for your application, which could be for a master's degree, mostly by research, or a PhD study. While this personal statement can be useful to those who will be applying for an undergraduate degree as well as other related qualifications, I particularly target master's and PhD students or applicants. And at the end of this presentation, we will have some contact that you can get in touch in order to get some sample written personal statement so that you can use it while developing your own personal statement for your application. To begin with, let me just give you a brief overview of what a personal statement is or what it should be. As you may all be aware, sometimes a personal statement may be called a statement of purpose or a statement of intent. While some school of thought may try to differentiate these different pieces of writing, they more or less convey the same information, which is information about yourself as the applicant. And it is a piece of writing that you submit as part of your application or for you to be considered for a particular scholarship or admission. It is a statement of academic interest and should not emphasize any autobiographical information about your personal life. I know many of us will want to put some personal life in it, which is okay, but always ensure that those information relate to your experience or add to what you are applying for so that they can relate it or consider it as relevant. And before you begin to write, make a list of points you would like to cover in this statement. Of course, everybody has specific skills or talent that he or she wants to showcase whenever the person makes an application. So it's good to point out those important information and ensure that they're included in your writing. And then consider your educational and career goals and select items from your list that reflect your experiences, skills, and interest. Also, your essay should have a beginning, middle, and end, which means at minimum, you should have 3 main paragraphs in a personal statement. And of course, your first draft will not be your final copy, as you will need to write and rewrite again and again. That is how a personal statement should be, and you do this in order to avoid having minor mistakes that may reduce your chances. Before we get into the main content of the personal statement, it is important for you to ask yourself some of these questions so that it will bring your attention as you put your writing all together. The first is, why do you want to study a master's or PhD, and how will it benefit you personally or with respect to your own society? And how does the course fit your skill set? How do you stand out from the crowd? Of course, you should know at the back of your mind that whenever you are applying for an admission or scholarship, there are thousands of applicants. And as such, you want to make yours to stand out so that it will increase your chances. And another information is that what are you aspiring to be or do in your future? It is always important to point out your future career goals, which the selection team will consider in order to determine whether or not you qualify for that admission or scholarship. And then finally, how can your work contribute to the department, society, or the university? Of course, you don't want to just emphasize on the importance of the study for yourself, but rather the department or the society at large. Your personal statement should have these important points, meaning to say that you should try as much as possible to see that this information are reflected in your personal statement. The first thing is have an eye-catching and interesting introduction and an engaging middle part and conclusion. Just like we have said from the main introduction, you can see that these three basic structures should always be there at minimum. And secondly, have an introduction that acts as a framework for the rest of your statement. Of course, you don't want to write an introduction that is completely outside what you put in the subsequent section of your writing. As such, make sure that the introduction talks briefly about some of the key points that you will discuss subsequently. And then most of the time, personal statement should be between 250 or 500 words. But it is important for you to check the specific institution you are applying, so that if they have specific guide with respect to the number of words, you should stick with that. And always try to write with as short sentences as possible, mostly between 25 to 30 words. Of course, you don't want to make them very short, and you don't want to make them too long, so that it will be easier for the reader to understand. And then use clear paragraph or use headings. Of course, most of the time you will just see a couple of paragraphs in the personal statement, but some schools, they will request for you to write it on the key headings, like why did you select that particular university, or sometimes people prepare to write on the different headings rather than paragraph. While I did not see any particular information that says which one is better, use what the university or the institution recommend, or use what you are more comfortable with. And then finally, use a sentence structure where you make a claim and back it up with an evidence. You don't just want to say you achieved this and that without any guiding evidence to prove that. So please ensure you always back your statement with evidence. Now let's talk about the basic structure of a personal statement. While this is not a gold standard, because of course there may be some minor differences across different institutions, but most personal statements will contain the following structure that I will be talking about. Of course, as may be expected, the first is the background or the introduction. Every single personal statement, just like we have noted earlier, should have a sound and eye-catching introduction that will give the reader a good impression of your whole write-up. So this should include your prior academic experiences, project experiences, internship or research experiences, leadership and extracurricular involvement, as well as other experiences that are relevant. Of course, just like we have said earlier, you don't want to populate your personal statement with information that are related to your personal life, but rather things that have to do with your prior academic experiences or those that are relevant to what you are applying for. You will likely want to reflect on your major project and stress any technique or skill set that relate to the program to which you are applying. Of course, sometimes when you write a personal statement, there are key achievements that you had previously. You will want to emphasize on those points so that the selection team will consider those as part of your as part of the things that they will consider whether or not to select you. And if there is any internship or summer research experiences that you have taken part, should be highlighted as well. When talking about your background, make sure not to just share your experiences, but instead highlight how these experiences have prepared you for graduate study. What have your experiences provided you with that you will bring into your field, as well as apply for advanced research? Of course, you are not just giving a story, you are trying to sell yourself in a nutshell. You want to tell them why you are qualified or why these skills that you are mentioning are relevant to what you are applying for. So think about that. So I just provided a small example. So as you can see, this is just an extract from a personal statement written by an applicant who will be applying for a PhD in the field of physics. So just take your time, go through it and see how some important information are highlighted. And in a nutshell, you can see that this introduction contains almost all the key information that should be included in the personal statement. But at the same time, the writer will then come and emphasize on some of the key aspects of it at the middle part of it or toward the conclusion. The second aspect of a personal statement or the structure that you should have is your interest. And when talking about the program you're applying for, make sure you emphasize why you need this specific degree, an area of study to advance your career aspiration. Of course, there has to be something that interests you with respect to what you are trying to study. So try to make those points as clear as possible so that the selection team will understand why you really need those skills or why you want to undergo that particular study. In addition to that, you may reference particular classes of interest along with professors by name and their area of focus. Of course, you are expected to do some minor research about the institution or the expert in that field of the institution that you are applying for. So you can reference some of their research work related to what you are applying for. And also make it clear that you want this particular degree and program and why you want it or like it. And another example with respect to interest is an extract from the same personal statement that I quoted earlier. So again, take your time, read it, and see how this information is articulated in this paragraph. And another important structure of a personal statement is why did you select that particular university, or why did you select that particular faculty or department? Of course, each and everyone should have at least one reason why that university is the university for you to apply. And as such, you should try as much as possible to state at least one important reason, maybe about the university library resources or laboratory equipments, or maybe some of the experts that the university have in your field of application. So your statement should specifically mention why you want to attend this particular school or the department or study under specific faculty members or potential supervisors. And if you're interested in teaching assistantship or research assistantship, please inquire about those by referencing professors of interest. Of course, you are expected to do some personal assignment before you apply for that admission, and it is important if you have made any contact to emphasize on those or reference them in your statement. And then finally, you should also try to have prior conversation with faculty members who interest you before applying so that you can reprint these conversations in your statement. And this particular structure with respect to why the university, this can be as a paragraph on its own, or you can put it together with the next paragraph, which is your future career goal. And finally, the last step or the structure that you need to put in your personal statement is your future career goals. In your personal statement, clearly articulate what you want to do with your advanced degree and why you need this education to achieve this type of opportunity you are interested in. Of course, you don't want to mention only the current goals or the reasons why you are applying for that admission. You should be able to connect it to what you want to do in your society or community upon completion of your course of study. And if you are not exactly sure, just pick a few areas of the program that really call to you and emphasize those. And it is important that you have a clear direction when writing your personal statement so that the person who will be reading your personal statement will make more sense of your writing. So just to give you a brief example of career goals and why you selected the university, I put another extract from the previous sample statement that I put. So as you can see, even though this is very short, but still it articulates some information about why the writer chose that particular university and connect it with personal or future goals. Thank you for your time. This is the end of my short presentation on personal statement for master's or PhD program application. If you want this guide, you can request it for us to send it to you, or if you want a statement sample, we can also send that to you. Just get in touch with through any of our platforms, through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or email. which is Gamji Educational and Mentorship Forum. Thank you. Bye.